Hello and welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations here on the Megacast, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Civic Center TV, of course, on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, as is one of our partnering stations, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Also today, as always, on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff. And today on Facebook via Facebook Live, as we broadcast every day, we are on Ronnie Dahl's journalist page on Facebook via Facebook Live. And now joining me from her home studio is Ronnie Dahl.
So Tyler, I'm right now, I was like, oh, I get the alert. Hey, someone's going live on your page.
Yeah.
So, you know what's really weird is, so I remember when this whole thing happened, it's really stupid that Facebook has a 5,000 capacity limit. So you had to start like these second pages to make them public.
Right.
But like in the beginning, you were trying to merge and it just became this crazy mess. But I noticed that on my journalist page, you get like almost no interaction. It's because they want you to sponsor on those pages. So if you don't sponsor, you don't get a lot of people that even know it's out there. So I have to post something on my regular page to tell them to go over to the journalist page. Does that make sense?
Not really. No, it doesn't make very much sense at all. But, you know, there's not a lot that Facebook does at this point in time that makes a whole lot of sense. And maybe that's one of the many reasons they're in such hot water as of late.
Right. So I'm sorry, I'm typing as I'm posting at the same time because I'm not, Tyler, once you hit 40, you can't do like 10 things at once. It's just impossible. And you need reading glasses at that age too.
Just at 40, yes. No reading glasses before that. No, that's.
Hey, but we made it to Tuesday, and Tyler, I have to say, I was absolutely devastated when the alert came across my phone last night about the Detroit Zoo, and the male polar bear killed the female polar bear while trying to breed. I was like heartbroken, like seeing that alert come across. And by the way, the male polar bear that killed the female polar bear, he is the father of the recently born twins that they've been promoting through the Detroit Zoo. I don't know if you've seen them. They're so super cute. He's the father of that bear, of those twins, and another bear. So I guess polar bears kind of get around, but for whatever reason, he didn't like this latest polar bear, and he killed her.
Well, he's going to have a reputation now after that. I think that it's going to get through the polar bear grapevine. Hey, watch out! This stud over here is a real killer. Maybe stay at a distance.
Yeah, I will say, someone who's kind of worked in PR too, I'm thinking like, what was it like to have to write that press release and to put it out? Because they've gotten so much attention and love because they just recently put out the pictures of the twin new polar bears and, the video of the bears with their mama and this, that, and the other. And then like a week or two later, you're putting out, hey, by the way, their daddy killed another polar bear.
Yeah, nothing says I love you like murder, I guess. I don't know how polar bears work. It's a weird, that's going to be a tough one to navigate for the Detroit Zoo. Because come see our polar bears. Don't worry, they only kill each other.
So we used to be Zoo members, and then I let the membership lapse. And then when I saw the polar bear pictures, of course, I had to send them for my husband. I'm like, oh, I need to see the polar bears. They're not open.
Okay, it appears we have lost our connection with Ronnie here. Let's just see if it's us or if it's her. Okay, it looks like it is us. So that's nice. We'll continue on. Of course, the unfortunate news from the Detroit Zoo regarding the polar bear. Hopefully they're able to get around that, maybe get this polar bear some help, or be more cognizant of the other polar bears that are around when they are in breeding season. Maybe be a little more careful. We'll see how that goes. Again, you're listening to the Oakland County Megacast. Plenty going on our show today. Got a really good lineup for you. We'll get back with Ronnie in just a few minutes here once our connection gets back up. Hey, these things happen. We've had it happen a few times before. It's usually been just on our guests' front, and they've had to reconnect. But here we are experiencing it ourselves. Just a brief internet outage. We'll get back with Ronnie in a minute. But while we're on that topic, while we're waiting for ourselves to reconnect with Ronnie, I want to remind you that we have a boatload of resources on our website on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have our latest headlines, and we'll get to our latest headlines in a few minutes. But we also have important COVID-19 resources that are updated regularly from the Centers for Disease Control, the state of Michigan, Oakland County, and many of your local municipalities as well as we continue on through this COVID-19 pandemic. Information changing daily, and it can be tough to keep up with it. So you go to civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. You don't have to dig through the weeds of the Centers for Disease Control's webpage, the state of Michigan's webpage, Oakland County's webpage to get all the information that you need. You can click directly to your resources at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And on top of that, you can learn local information about COVID-19 and other programs in place as well. So if you're from the city of Keego Harbor, you click right on the Keego Harbor link, it will take you directly to their website. Same with the West Bloomfield Township button. You click on West Bloomfield Township, it takes you directly to their COVID-19 information and links webpage. Gives you information on helpful things you need to know about COVID-19 and navigating this pandemic in the local area here in greater West Bloomfield and in our neighboring communities as well. Just a minute here, mind with me as I type in our Zoom code, our handy dandy Zoom code here, trying to reconnect with our team. I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. It's like walking and chewing bubble gum. I'm also blonde, so that doesn't help, but we'll get reconnected here shortly, hopefully. It's not looking very good right now, but we'll continue on. So let's start off with the headlines. Let's go through our headlines today as we await reconnecting with Ronnie. A judge has dismissed charges against protesting hairstylists. A Lansing District Court judge has dismissed charges against six hairstylists who cut hair on the Capitol lawn in May as part of a protest against stay-at-home orders that barred salons and barbershops from opening. More than 20 hairstylists cut hair during the rally on the Capitol lawn, in part to support 77-year-old Owasso barber Carl Menke, who reopened his business despite threats from state and local health departments. Operation Haircut was organized by the Michigan Conservative Coalition and was one of several rallies protesting the governor's stay-at-home orders last spring and summer. They have since been charged with disorderly conduct for operating an illegal profession or business. The charges would have been punishable up to $500 or 93 days in jail. Lansing District Court Judge Kirsten B. Simmons dismissed charges against demonstrators on Monday with a verbal ruling. During the short hearing, Simmons dismissed all charges because Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel's office had failed to appear in court or respond to a motion to dismiss. Licensing sanctions against the hairstylists are being deliberated. Dana Nessel's office did not immediately return a message seeking comment from the media that reported that. For more information on that story, we have that article on our website, that article from the Detroit News, on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where you can find that and other top headlines from today's show while we continue on. And mind with me as well. I'm trying to communicate with our team as well while trying to reconnect with them in process on the show. We'll continue on with our headlines as I send them a message. Other news, Kroger offers bonuses to employees who get the COVID-19 vaccine. The Kroger company is giving a $100 bonus to its employees who get the COVID-19 vaccine. Kroger employees, including about 19,000 in Michigan, received the one-time payment of $100 when vaccinated with full manufacturer recommended dosage, along with proof of vaccination. Those employees who, for medical or religious reasons, cannot get the vaccine can complete an education and health safety course and receive the $100 instead, according to a news release. Grocery workers are part of Phase 1B of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's vaccine rollout recommendations on Friday. Kroger had also announced it will invest an additional $50 million in rewards as a thank you to its associates. The rewards include $100 store credit and 1,000 fuel points loaded to associates' loyalty cards on February 11th. Hourly frontline grocery, supply chain, manufacturing, pharmacy, and call center associates are eligible for the additional rewards. Nationwide, the Cincinnati-based Kroger company has nearly 500,000 associates across more than 2,700 stores. So good to hear that they are providing some incentive potentially to their employees for getting the COVID-19 vaccine, and even some incentive to those who may not be comfortable yet or at all getting the vaccine, and saying, hey, you know what, at the very least, we want you to prove that you can continue to be safe and understand why these safety measures are put in place. And at the very least, go through a short course, you take a quick test, show that you know that information, which it should be second nature at this point in the pandemic anyway. And we will then give you that same bonus that we would have given had you gotten the vaccine and shown proof of receiving the vaccine as well. From other local food and grocery retailers and department stores, Meijer is going to launch vaccine clinics in its Michigan stores. Meijer is launching a series of COVID-19 vaccination clinics at stores across Michigan this week, with plans to administer up to 25,000 doses in the first week. Meijer says the vaccines will be administered to Michiganders 65 years old and older who have pre-registered through the company's vaccine registration process. During the last few weeks, Meijer says it has conducted vaccine clinics in numerous counties throughout the state, administering up to 1,200 vaccines in a single day at some stores. Since its first clinic opened on January 15th, the retailer has administered more than 20,000 doses in Michigan and more than 30,000 doses overall, primarily to seniors 65 years old and older. So more good news from our local retailers on the front lines who have been heroic throughout this entire pandemic, keeping people employed, keeping people well fed, providing resources that are needed, and doing it in a very safe manner as well. Now going to be part of the next step in providing vaccinations in Meijer's clinics, already in process, testing that out, figuring out how they can go through that process as we continue to have more potential vaccines come to market in the local area and throughout the U.S. and the world as well. So good news from Meijer, good news from Kroger, and hopefully some more good news on the vaccine front in the coming days and weeks also as we continue forward in this COVID-19 pandemic and get closer to potentially a one-dose vaccine, that Johnson & Johnson vaccine, potentially a single dose, which could potentially really help ramp up the vaccinations, getting shots into arms in an efficient manner, because you don't have to schedule around the grace period between the first vaccination and the second vaccination, and that could provide some ample time made up for local municipalities and health departments in counties and the states as they try to catch up after a slow start and rocky start, really, to the vaccination process. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to do our best to try to reconnect with Ronnie and reconnect with our guests and our Zoom producer, Larry. And then if not, we'll come back. We'll do a quick reset, and we'll continue to try to do this before our first interview connects at 10:20. We'll continue on with our coverage. You are watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast on a family of TV, radio, and other media outlets all throughout the local area. Again, you can watch us on Civic every day. Civic Center TV, Comcast Channel 15, and AT&T Channel 99. 89.3 Lakes FM as well in West Bloomfield. In the Birmingham, Bloomfield, Bingham Farms, and Beverly Hills area, we are on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, also Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff. And today we are broadcasting live via Facebook Live with Ronnie Dahl on her journalist page, facebook.com/ronnie.dahl7. This is the Oakland County Megacast. We'll return in just a few minutes on our family of TV, radio, and other media outlets.
Perry tested positive for COVID-19. Emma was exposed to a friend who's positive. Willa's waiting on test results. After any contact with COVID-19, or if you test positive, stay home for at least 10 days. If you live with others, keep your distance and wear a mask. Help Michigan contain COVID-19. Visit michigan.gov/containcovid.
COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries. But you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. MyBridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the Megacast. As a reminder, you can always catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, as well as Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You can also tune us into 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And our deepest apologies to our first guest of the day, Chris Wilson, because we are going through a few technical issues, as is so many other people, individuals, and companies have been experiencing throughout the pandemic. So Chris Wilson is the Assistant Professor of Physical Therapy at Oakland University. Chris, so great to have you with us. How are you today?
I'm great. Happy to be here, Ronnie. Thanks for having me.
Again, our apologies, but we were kind of talking a little bit offline. By this time, you're kind of used to them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's really kind of the moral of the story these past couple of days is we're so lenient on technology. And that was really one of the things that our program really helped to kind of work through a little bit that we're going to talk about.
And I will say, I said it before, I'll say it again. I'm so happy, and we have to go through a pandemic We're doing it right now, because even 15, 20 years ago, like, remember the first cell phones that came in the bag, and then they got streamlined and it was like this huge brick. Like, you would never imagine doing and living life like we are doing right now over technology.
And that's really helped a lot in the healthcare world as well. I mean, even just getting to your doctor or getting for an annual checkup is something that was really near impossible about a year ago. And that was kind of one of the things that luckily was kind of a side effect of the program that we started working on, was, trying to get senior citizens more independent with their exercises and health behaviors.
So I'd love to be able to ask you about that. What has it been like? So we know you're the assistant professor of physical therapy at Oakland University. Before we get into the grant that you were just awarded, what has it been like for you and members of your team to have to switch during this pandemic? Because when we're talking about physical therapy, it's very hands-on.
It really is, yeah. And we were, at Oakland University, they were very, very focused on protecting the staff, the community, and certainly the students, all parties when it comes to the pandemic. And really, we were kind of always the exception to the rule. Like, for a lot of the classes, you could say, nope, we're just doing Zoom and you're going online. However, in physical therapy, we had to institute very, very clear, specific rules and regulations. So all of the students had to wear a face shield and a mask, and basically they're paired up with a student for the entire semester to practice all of their therapy techniques on. And luckily, we have a lot of really, really friendly, nice students, and there weren't any interpersonal battles or feuds that came up. So really, and it's been great. We have not had any major outbreaks or anything like that, even still working in close communication, because especially during a pandemic, we can't stop training healthcare providers. And that was really one of the morals of the story is, would we suspend the program? Absolutely not, because we need to keep training physical therapists, especially during this pandemic, when early mobility in the hospital has been so important to getting some of these folks with COVID back on their feet.
Well, because on the backside of that too, if it was real life, you can't say, hey, we're not going to treat you today. And so they really are getting that real life experience. Chris, I will say, I think the younger generation, they adapt more easily to this new world and the use of technology than some of us that are a bit older.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's actually another one of the lead-ins to our grant that we're working on is for older adults that we work with. Some of them aren't really used to Zoom or didn't have the opportunity to do things like that. So that's actually one of the things that we're going to be working on with our grant is actually, getting some tools and techniques to get some of these older adults who aren't used to Zoom and aren't used to wearing Fitbits or Apple Watches and things like that into some of the new technologies to help them maintain their health.
So I love that you bring that up, because that's been one of my biggest concerns. The individuals that don't have internet, or the seniors, they're just not comfortable. And that's one of the things we're hearing, about the vaccine and so many of these programs go online. Well, seniors, maybe some can't go online, but they're also not comfortable going online. So tell us more about the grant itself.
Yeah, so over the past 5 years, my colleagues, Dr. Sarah Arena and Dr. Lori Bowright, both from Oakland University, have been working on a program called Hop-Up Physical Therapy, and it's called Home-Based Older Persons Upstreaming Prevention Physical Therapy. So really, I equate it to, if you annually, especially as we age, we need help kind of maintaining our healthy lifestyle. We have a doctor that we go to for an annual physical. They're checking your blood pressure and they're checking for any diseases. We even go to the dentist every 6 months to get our teeth checked up. But we really don't do that for the rest of our bodies. And that's really what this program was designed for. It was actually the brainchild of Karen Adcock from Auburn Hills, the senior citizen director over there. And she basically came to Oakland University and said, we see these older adults in the senior centers. We're building relationships with them. Sometimes we even know them better than their families. We can see them maybe getting a little bit weaker or, starting to physically decline, and they felt helpless. So that's really where we developed this program, where basically a senior citizen center can call a physical therapist and say, can you go in and check on Mrs. Jones? She was looking a little bit weak. She was feeling a little bit tired, and see what's going on. Sometimes it's a medical issue, and then the therapist can then refer back to the patient's primary care physician, or sometimes we can actually get them on a tune-up. We kind of give the older person a series of about a 6-month regimen. The therapist comes in about once a month to do some exercises. The first exercises are in person in the home of the older adult. We teach them how to do that. We also make home modification recommendations. So does a person need a railing next to their toilet? Or do they need, to repair their steps getting out of their house? So really the mission is to keep older adults safe and active in their homes and communities. And that's really what we found is that, they really did well with the first few visits, but then the last few visits where the therapists are kind of backing off a little bit, allowing the older adult to be more independent, was the telehealth part of things, where we kind of get into that topic of, some older adults are really, really good at technology. They have Apple Watches. They don't want, all of our kind of rudimentary stuff, but there's some older adults that might not have Wi-Fi or still have a flip phone, and that's okay. But in this day and age, it's really limiting their access to kind of some of the new technology. And that's really been a big thing that we're kind of working toward.
Chris Wilson with us here on the Megacast. He's the assistant professor of physical therapy at Oakland University. And Chris, what part of this program do you think is going to stay with us post-pandemic if we ever get there?
Yeah. And well, really, that's our goal. Dr. Rena and Dr. Boatwright and I really want this to be a new paradigm. So just like when you're done going to your dentist, you don't get to walk out of the dentist's office without saying, when's your next 6-month checkup? And really having the access to those experts in your physical status, your balance, your coordination, your strength, your arthritic knees, and all those type of things. We really, our goal is to have this Oakland County grown program really kind of go up and out throughout the United States. We've been talking with the American Physical Therapy Association and Medicare, because really the biggest problem is that the payment methodology, therapy services aren't really reimbursed appropriately for a program like this. So there's still a little bit of legwork to do, but the research and data that we've been showing is that the senior citizens love it, the community centers love it, the doctors of the senior citizens love it, because it's an extra pair of ears and eyes and hands to help these older adults stay safe while they're maybe getting a little bit older and age is catching up with them to a certain extent.
Yeah, there are so many benefits, and I wonder too, like, had you introduced this outside of the pandemic, there would have been a lot of, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. But in the middle of a pandemic, we're seeing there is light at the tunnel and ways for us to change how we operate. And I'm so concerned about the seniors right now, because a lot of them are in somewhat of a isolation stage, because visitation is still limited. So do you feel like with that, a program like this is even more important right now, because it is what you just said, another set of eyes and ears, but also a motivation for them to get up out of bed and be active?
Yeah, I think we've all experienced that during the pandemic. Is we don't have to drive into work all the time, and the gyms are all closed, and that actually really hit senior citizens very hard in some cases, because they were so dependent, some of them, on senior citizen centers. They'd go there for meals, they'd go there for social interaction, exercise, things like that. And those things were abruptly shut down. And what we were actually seeing, that the senior citizens that were participating in our program, yes, things were different, but they were still able to exercise. They were still able to, work on their balance. They were still able to make healthy nutritional choices. And then, now that the senior citizen centers are starting to open back up, they can kind of interact with some of those programs as well. So, because especially when it comes to social isolation, that's a major problem. Some of these older adults who really might be homebound only talk to the Meals on Wheels person, and sometimes just that therapist who came in was just an extra pair of ears and eyes to kind of listen and be a friendly touch.
What has been the reaction for this program for your students as well?
That's a great question, and we're very excited we have, I counted the other day, 26 students involved with our research in the program. So we have lots of students working on various parts of the program, creating videos for the senior citizens. And I think it just really adds a layer of, this is why I came in to do what I do. I also teach clinical documentation to Oakland University students. That's not why most therapists want to become therapists. They don't want to write notes. They want to see people and make impact on people's lives. And just seeing the senior citizens that they get to work with and that their health is better has been a really rewarding experience for everyone involved.
Chris Wilson with us. He's the assistant professor of physical therapy at Oakland University. And Chris, you mentioned the students making videos. I will say, even myself, I'm like, they are so quick and witty with some of the videos and how they operate technology. So what have you learned through this process?
Yeah, I've really learned, especially when we're doing a lot of things via telecommunication, is it takes a long time to produce videos. We had not really been producing a lot of high quality videos. And that was really important to us because we wanted the senior citizens and the community centers and the doctors to have confidence in this newly growing program. So if we put something together that looked like it was, strung together with tape, glue, and string, we wouldn't necessarily have that confidence behind the scenes that there were highly trained healthcare workers. So that's been kind of the big surprise for me, that it's a lot of work, and you have to highly script some of these things and get the angles just right to be able to convey to the senior citizen to do a balance exercise. Because if you do it wrong, there's a chance that they could do it incorrectly, either irritate their arthritis or have some other type of adverse health event, which is, of course, the opposite of what we want to accomplish.
So with this grant, do you think it's going to expand the opportunities for this to be a part of your program permanently?
Yeah, so we got a $321,000 grant from the Michigan Health Endowment Fund to really work on technological literacy of the older adults and really start training kind of having a portal so that the older adults can actually access this, and the community centers can then refer to them. Right now, it's been very telecommunications. Basically, the senior citizen centers are calling us and saying, this person's looking a little bit weak, or so this person might need a little bit of help, and really kind of having a more sophisticated internet portal to make sure that it's accessible 24/7. And that will really help upscale it throughout the state of Michigan and eventually the United States.
I absolutely love that this program is available and this grant money is available, because while, some of our elected leaders are throwing around these numbers and millions and billions and trillions, this to me is what the money should be used for. And it really is, because when we come to our senior citizens, even those that, I have friends and they're still on the flip phone. They don't have an internet connection and they're not comfortable, and you can't force them to change their ways. So I worry about them falling between the cracks. But I do think this is such a great way to kind of bridge that connection with those that need it, and long-term as well, because the more they get comfortable with technology, not just through this program, you hope that they also reach out to other individuals within their circle of loved ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other big thing is that this should be really seen as an investment. Really healthcare costs are spiraling out of control. And the earlier we can kind of do prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Apple a day keeps the doctor away kind of stuff. Well, an exercise a day keeps the therapist away. So the more that we can empower older adults to maintain their own health, it'll reduce hospitalization, reduce readmissions, and be fiscally responsible. So those are the things that I love to do, are save money and help people at the same time. That's a win-win.
It is definitely a win-win. Chris, anything I didn't touch on that you may want to add before we let you go?
Nope. I think if anyone wants any more information, our website is hopuppt.com. And if anyone wants to learn more about the program, we're happy to do that. We're in several communities throughout Oakland County and hoping to expand more in the state of Michigan as well.
Well, Chris, it's been great talking to you. And we want to say thank you to you and your team for, the work that you're doing, but also teaching the next generation while still caring for the elder generation as well. You guys are what's right in our community. So thank you for being with us here on the Megacast.
Thanks for having me.
Chris Wilson, he's the assistant professor of physical therapy at Oakland University. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, Representative Brenda Lawrence from the 14th Congressional District will be joining us on the Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the medical director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1. Turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2. Apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3. Wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4. Rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5. Dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6. If you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to stay with us here on the Megacast. As a reminder, you can always catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. You can also tune us in to Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. If you're out driving around, listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Bith. And that is what makes us the Megacast. We are able to utilize TV, radio, as well as social media to bring you these long-form interviews. And with us right now, Representative Brenda Lawrence. She is with the 14th Congressional District. Always great to have you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, and good to be here.
So obviously, top of the list, 1 o'clock this afternoon, the Trump trial continues. Mm-hmm. We've talked to you about this before, but any other things that you want to add about the impeachment trial? Because, of course, some people on the other side say the Republicans are not going to vote to convict, if even that's the proper term. I'm not sure about that. But so why take the time in the middle of a pandemic?
When I took my oath of office to serve and protect, I never thought I would be under an attack. Being on the floor when this happened, being told to seek shelter, seek shelter, to put on a gas mask, to have police with guns drawn, rushing us out of the room, to hear a mob banging on the door, saying, open the doors, who's in here, we're coming in. And to later, thank God I didn't see all the clips while I was going through this. I had no idea how massive it was. And to know that a mob was walking through the White House saying, hang Pence, who was the vice president of the United States of America. When I ran out of that room, it wasn't just Democrats. It was the Republicans and Democrats together. Pence is a Republican. And so this was an anti-government movement. They did not care if you were Democrat or Republican. They had one mission, and that was to stop us from certifying the votes. Now, everyone knows that in America, we have laws and we have rules, and you cannot destroy property. You cannot kill people. And people seem to want to minimize this. 5 people died. We had police officers beating other police officers with flagpoles. This was one of the most horrific days in our day of history. And the fact that you have 2 or 3 weeks to go in your elected period of service does not exempt you from a criminal act. I feel it was criminal. I do want to say that in our Constitution, there is the impeachment process. The President of the United States assembled an army, and then directed this group of people to go to the Capitol and to tell them to fight like hell. And they did. And there has to be, if it were you or I, if I'm in a car with someone and they drive up to a bank and rob the bank, I'm an accessory because I knew what you were going to do. I'm an accessory to the crime. We have laws and no one is exempt from the law.
And we've had people convicted of being with someone as an accessory and not even knowing what their intent was at the time. So, but with that, you know, we're from Michigan, and we can go back and forth. And we've talked before about how they did not know this was coming, because, you know, as you know, I work for a federal law enforcement agency. Mm-hmm. They have ways to track some of these threats. But with that, here in the state of Michigan, the growing concern about these threats and the militia in Michigan. Let's think about Timothy McVeigh. Mm-hmm. This is nothing new for us. Mm-hmm. So are you concerned, as someone who represents the state of Michigan, that this could actually fuel more of the militia movement within our state?
You know, I always question those who say that, you know, we need a militia in our country. That when the law said that you need to arm yourself because, you know, the government may be overthrown, that was before we had armies. That was before we had a military. It was before we had police departments. And now, if you feel that something is wrong, we have courts, we have laws, we have military, we have law enforcement. And so we every day exercise our democracy. I don't know what motivates individuals to be anti-government. To give you an example, in that mob, there were police, mm-hmm. military, firefighters, parents, and they were anti-government. They weren't there on a mission or a cause saying we want to stop you from building in ocean drilling. It wasn't a cause. It was to overthrow the government. And this is what is so difficult to understand, is that how can the person who represents the government send a mob to the Capitol to take over the same government that they took an oath of office to serve and protect? That is challenging for me. But when we look at, in Michigan, there's so many good people. There are so many amazing people. I had, when I ran for lieutenant governor, opportunity to go all over this state. In the UP and Upper Michigan and West, East, you name it, Southern part. This is a great state of great people. And I always believe that good overweighs the bad. And I'm still hopeful for America and for Michigan.
I do get concerned about some of the people that say this is a freedom of speech. And when we take people off some of the more popular platforms, are they going underground? And will that make it harder for them to track? Or also individuals that were maybe just had some, certain thoughts, but now they're connected with these extremists because they feel like they can't talk about certain things in public. And that, I think that's my concern. And you worry that could this be a bigger movement that grows out of this? Let's hope not. Let's hope, like the Jeep commercial in the Super Bowl, that we meet in the center and we all start to get along, right? And even the UP, we love you, UP, and Jeep is sorry they didn't include you.
I'm very hopeful. The fact that, And to get back to your point you made on the last question, I don't understand how the intelligence community were not aware, because this had been played out in broad open daylight and open social media. There was no surprise, but an investigation is being held. As you saw, there were police, military, all involved in this. And when you look at the Capitol Police, they were told not to stand up. They were told to stand down. All kind of directions and so many levels played into this anti-government murderous riot. And we cannot have a government or a democracy if what we saw continues. And so everyone, if they were asleep, they have been awakened. We do have freedom of speech. There's one thing to talk to someone and say, you know what? I think Brenda's an idiot and she should go somewhere and sit down. It's another thing to come to my door, break it down, ram my home, and to try to harm me. And that's what we saw. We didn't see speech, we saw action. And I hope everyone realizes, and it's amazing to me that we're talking about free speech when you had destruction, you had death, you had violence, you had all of these things rolled into one. This was bigger than freedom of speech.
Yeah, but you've been around long enough. I will say my biggest education for working with a federal law enforcement agency as someone who came from the media was the level of politics involved in our law enforcement agencies, and not just on a federal level. This happens on a state and a local level as well. And the person who is sitting at the top of the food chain, they help dictate the policy. So we knew under Trump that the U.S. attorney's offices, they were looking for gun crimes because they wanted to get their stats up about going after gun crimes. So when we're talking about the intelligence with our law enforcement agencies, a lot of them had the intelligence, but it's that political sway within our law enforcement that I think effort needs to be made to remove that, so that these law enforcement agencies can act with regard for the best interest of the public and not so concerned about their next job.
Well, I know, and I'm happy to hear that Secretary Austin, who took over as the Secretary of Defense, has already launched an internal investigation on politicalization and of the military. Just think about it. We train our military to fight. We train our military to destroy, to have intelligence, and to have them to go against our government. You know, these same people who were carrying this flag was attacking the government that this flag represents. They're the ones who take the the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. And to want to overthrow and take actions to overthrow our government is something that we know in history. We lived through that and we fought and we won. I just feel strongly that this is a wake-up moment in our country. We never thought in the 21st century of our country that we would have a rebellion against our government.
Well, it's great that you said that, because it really is about, hey, how do we bridge the gap from this point on? Representative Brenda Lawrence here with us. She's the U.S. representative for Michigan's 14th Congressional District. Obviously, right now, by the way, we do want to say congratulations on being named Vice Chair of the House of Appropriations Committee. But it's like all these years later, sometimes I feel like Washington politics is still like the old boys club. Do you feel like that? Or is the tide changing?
Oh, the tide is absolutely changing. The women who are in leadership chairs of committee, I am the co-chair of the Women's Caucus. I was the chair of the entire congressional body Women's Caucus. And we fight for issues and make sure that we are engaged in policies, laws. To give you an example, during this pandemic, we found when you talk about poverty and needing resources, the number one group or the largest group in poverty in America are women head of households, single women head of households. We find that childcare is a major deterrent to assembling wealth, because I had a town hall on childcare, and a father wrote and said, I pay more money, Congresswoman, more money to childcare than I do for my mortgage. So when you think about in America how we don't pay attention to childcare, we look at hunger, and you think about it like they're talking about, well, you shouldn't get any money if you make 60,000 or 50,000. If I'm a single person, I can make it on 50,000. But if I have 4 children to feed and I have 50,000, 4 children to pay a water bill for, pay housing for, because I can't live in a single studio apartment. I have to get something with extra bedrooms. I have to have water. I have to have food. I have to have clothing. And you think about all the cost of that. And so when we use our voices, and it's over 130 women now in Congress. You may say out of 435, that's not a lot, but it's the largest we've ever had. And so I'm very proud of the women in leadership. You know, Nancy Pelosi, McCain on the Republican side, and the Republicans, for the first time, they have over 20 women on the Republican side. They were the most they ever had before this term was 13. So we are moving in the right direction, and I feel good about it, the place that women are in and growing in Congress.
You know, and thank you for taking that on as well. It's funny, I was having a conversation with several other women the other day, and we were talking about how sometimes women in business, we're not our biggest champions. Like, we compete against one another when we should be lifting one another up. And there was a recent study that showed that the pandemic is going to take the women's movement in business so many steps back. And a lot of that has to do with childcare, because people are having to choose, hey, who's going to stay home with our kids? Because, you know, not every job is remote. And if you can't be a remote, someone has to take care of the kids that are 5, 6, 7 years old. You can't leave them home alone. And so it's great to have people such as yourself to be an example, but also an inspiration to say that we can achieve this, but to recognize the challenges that as women in the workforce that we face as well. So thank you with that. So if we can, Biden's Buy American order, what does that actually mean for the state of Michigan?
For the state of Michigan, we are a manufacturing state, and it boosts U.S. manufacturing and federal purchases of U.S. made products and goods. It is amazing to me, people who will say, no one's fighting for my job. They're sending my jobs, and they buy foreign made cars. Here in Michigan, if you're not sensitive to the fact that when you buy foreign cars, you're creating an industry away from America. I am very much Buy American. I look for that U.S. tag on products. Unfortunately, there are items we can't make here. And so one of the things that Biden administration will do is to take a tougher line on waivers or exemptions that allow federal agencies to make purchases of foreign goods. And he using the Defense Act to make sure that like the Defense Department is not using our dollars to buy oil and steel out in other countries. And the Buy Back Better, which is the platform of Biden, he's going to support U.S. manufacturing and jobs. And no one knows that better than in Michigan. And I wanted to just bring up some statistics for those who say, why are you guys always talking about women? Do you realize that Detroit's comeback was based on small businesses, and women-owned businesses has been the largest number of small businesses in our economy. In addition to that, Black women hold the highest level of student debt in America. And we in America die from childbirth at a rate higher than third world countries. There are so many issues that we need to talk about, and not to mention the raising the minimum wage, because women are the ones who work in those low paid jobs, those tip wage jobs, which we know now are you couldn't live on because there's no one there to tip. So women have a lot of issues that we have to address.
And it is, and we need to continue that conversation. But I know that your time is valuable, and we always appreciate that you take time for us. But before we go, we have to talk about the vaccine, because it is such a big part. I think 2021 is really going to be about the vaccine. It was funny, 2020, we were talking about the test.
Yes.
Where can you get the test? How fast are they being, administered and processed, and how accurate? Now 2021 is about the vaccine. Good news, Myers just came out and said that they will start today as part of the pharmacy program. They'll start administering this. It does seem as if sometimes when government gets in the way, we've been doing the flu vaccine for how many years? And I know there are different hoops and there are different rules and regulations, plus just the storage on this one. But we know we can roll out vaccines. We've been doing it forever, but now it goes from the federal to the state to the county down to the individual. It seems like there are so many layers of government getting in the way of getting the vaccine to the people that need it.
So we're figuring this out. We're flying the plane and trying to build it at the same time. There has been some glitches. I will tell you what my message is, and what I'm fighting for is that we allow the states, every state, and there's 50 of them, to develop their own distribution plan. I feel strongly that for seniors, it should be a federal rollout. It's too much to ask the senior to figure out the internet, to schedule an appointment, to then, some of them don't have transportation to get there, to navigate through all of that, because every state is doing it different. We have people crossing state lines to get the vaccine. It should be a federal rollout for our seniors, and then let the state figure it out for those who have, the ability. And then there's some who are in hotspots, in areas where the virus has been very prominent, who do not have internet. And we have to have internet to schedule the appointment. So there's so many things we need to work on. But thank God we're looking at J&J now. And hopefully that one shot will be approved. It hasn't as of yet. And once we get 3 of these vaccines going and we get the production up, we'll be rocking and rolling. If we get this thing right by June, we should be in a much better place.
And thank you for recognizing the hurdles that so many people in the senior community are facing right now, because like you said, a lot of them, it's transportation and it's the internet. And we keep telling people, go online, go online. Well, so many people can't do that. So thank you for recognizing that. A couple more minutes here with you before we let you go. Anything maybe we didn't touch on in the interview that you want to share with our audience before we say goodbye?
I want people to know, I tell people I lived through the 3 I's, the insurrection, the impeachment, and then the inauguration. We had a peaceful transfer of power. With all the broken glass, with all of the memories and deaths that happened on the 6th, we're still a democracy. We're still a country. And you know what? I have to do my job because I took the oath of office, and I promise you I will continue to do that. I know that we have to work together. I have to hear the people who scaled those walls that day. What is it that made you want to take over or destroy your government, because I have a responsibility to serve. And I want people to know that our government is still intact, that we have to work together. And if I don't agree with you, let's just debate it or talk about it. We don't have to be violent. And I want the next generation to have that hope of one nation under God, and that everything that is amazing about being an American only happens when we work together and stay true to our democracy. And I'm hopeful.
That is such a good message, because democracy is important. It is what we are based on, and that is the foundation of our country. But not only that, when you invite these people to speak, it's also to hear what they're saying.
Yes.
Because I will say, I have people on both sides. I'm an independent, and I have people on the far right and the far left. And right now is not always a good time to talk with some of these people, because no one can listen, and we need people to be able to come together and open their hearts and to listen, because at the end of the day, we all share the same breath. So thank you for being with us. We always appreciate your time and your dedication to serving our community as well.
Thank you so much. You stay safe, and I hope soon we'll be able to see each other in person.
I know. I told people, I said, I'm going to warn you right now. I'm a hugger. So as soon as this is over, I am hugging everyone. All right? Like, you feel so awkward meeting people, especially for the first time. You're like, wait, no, I'm not being disrespectful.
Yes.
I would hug you right now if I could.
Yes.
Well, thank you again. And stay safe, stay healthy. And again, thank you for your time and your commitment.
Thank you so much.
Representative Brenda Lawrence with us here on the Megacast. She represents the 4th Congressional District. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. This is a Civic Center TV.
The only way to beat COVID-19 is to face it.
You can't get too comfortable.
You can't forget the danger.
Wear the mask.
Wear the mask.
Wear the mask. Wash your hands.
Keep a safe distance.
Especially in the next few months.
You know we'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
Someday.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But not yet.
But not yet.
Consider virtual gatherings for the holidays.
Curbside food orders.
Grocery delivery.
And shopping local.
Shop local.
And especially shopping local.
Let's beat this virus. We can if we face it together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together. For the latest information, visit oakgov.com/COVID.
Perry tested positive for COVID-19. Emma was exposed to a friend who's positive. Willa's waiting on test results. After any contact with COVID-19, or if you test positive, stay home for at least 10 days. If you live with others, keep your distance and wear a mask. Help Michigan contain COVID-19. Visit michigan.gov/contain-COVID.
We want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the Megacast. We had a few technical issues this morning, but that is what happens in the era of COVID. But we did go ahead and interview or record the interviews with our previous guest, and so we'll be bringing those to you. You can check them out on civiccentertv.com a little bit later in the day. But in the meantime, we'll continue on with our broadcast. As a reminder, you're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Tyler, I'm not sure if you did the station IDs. You can also always catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, and listen to us again, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. Tune us into channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. And then today, of course today, of all days, you are live streaming today's show on my Facebook page, Ronnie Dahl Journalist, so you can head over there. So thank you for everyone for hanging with us. Also, Donna Wagnitz joins us now on the show. She's the owner and founder of Birdie's Better Life. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So I love your story. I was on your website earlier today. Love your story. Give us a background of how you found Birdie's Better Life, because it really was about your personal journey.
Yes. First of all, Birdie's is a nickname that I got from my dad.
And how'd you get the nickname, by the way? Because there's always a story behind a nickname.
Well, I was a towhead, so super blonde, fluttery hair, and he said I just fluttered around without a care in the world.
That's a good way to live life, though, right?
Yes. So, and it just stuck. So, and it made when it came to my life and the struggles that I went through, he made my life better. And then turning my life around into a more holistic way of living, also my life got better. So that's where the name Birdie's Better Life came from.
But when you decided to make this change, what was it that prompted it? Because you lived most of your life like the rest of us live.
Yep. I got really sick. After years of living my life the way most of us do, just kind of going with the flow, having, climbing the corporate ladder, the whole thing. And I got really sick and I couldn't get better. So I changed the way I looked at food, and just the way I looked at my lifestyle, and changed everything. And I got better through holistic nutrition. I quit eating processed foods. I paid more attention to my body and self-care and what that looked like, because we're always taught to just kind of go. We're very, driven, right? And you have to just keep going and multitask and do all these things. And eventually that's going to catch up with you.
But we hear this over and over,
right?
Especially, I think, even more so during the pandemic. And the one thing we did see, more and more people were starting to eat at home and cook at home and looking at the foods that they were eating and putting in their body. But how do you take that as advice that you hear, but also implementing it on a day-to-day so that it becomes a part of your routine and a part of your habit?
I think it's a little bit different for everybody. It depends on your personality. For me, I had to jump in and make it my entire lifestyle. But for other people, baby steps is the way to go. They need, how do I change this one thing? Especially if you're feeding a family, right? And not everybody's on the same page as you. How do you do it just for yourself? And it's just taking those baby steps. What one thing can I change today and continue on for the next day, whether it's eating more vegetables or, changing the type of food that you buy from more conventional foods to more less processed foods.
So I will say one of the good things about working remotely is it was always such a habit to bring in donuts or cookies or whatever. Like Punchki Day is coming up. Of course, right? You brought Punchkis. Well, when you're working remotely, you don't have to worry about that. But, it is a struggle. Like even us, if we try to take something up to the police department or the fire department, apples and oranges just don't seem to be received the same way.
They don't. Good thing nowadays there are alternatives to make, maybe a gluten-free punchki instead, or just something with better ingredients as opposed to using processed white sugar, using things like maple syrup or honey, and just using more quality ingredients and less ingredients as opposed to buying the boxed goods. And we have a little more time on our hands with the pandemic. So being able to create those habits during this time, it's been a little bit easier, I think, to, take better care of ourselves.
So you went from the corporate world into building your own business. How has that been? And tell us more about your business.
Okay, so it started out as nutrition, is where I started. And then I moved into body work. I'm constantly learning different things. And I'm fascinated with the human body and how it has this ability to heal itself through different modalities. One of those ways is through nutrition, what you feed your body. Food is either healing or it's poison, right? Depending on what you're putting in your body. But I actually opened my brick and mortar business right at the beginning of the pandemic. I signed my lease like literally the week before shutdown. So I wasn't actually able to start bringing people in until June came along. So it's been a little bit slow going, but it's also been very gratifying at the same time because so many people need help with making these changes. And because I do massage and craniosacral therapy too, which can both help with healing, especially people with chronic issues.
But you're also in the middle of a time where we're telling people to be socially distant. So how do you give a massage or let people feel it's okay to come in for a massage during this time?
Well, one of the ways is when we're following all the protocols that we're supposed to follow, as far as, wearing a mask and sanitizing properly and giving more time in between clients. But human touch is super healing, and massage is also very good for your immune system. It's moving the tissues. It's releasing tensions in your body. It's helpful to your immune system with your lymphatic flow. It just emotionally makes you feel better.
It really, I think more so now than ever, especially for the people that are seniors or living alone during this time. One of the biggest things I hear from my single friends is they miss the human touch, because when we get out, we're so used to hugging and touching. But could you imagine like trying to be single and dating, or have a girlfriend who has health issues? And for her during this time, her touch has come from doctors, because you can't hug, you can't, it's these, we don't realize how important human touch is to our day-to-day life until it's taken away from us.
Even just the interaction too, right? If you're alone all the time, especially working from home, if you live by yourself, you're not getting that interaction. So for a lot of people, just coming into a small clinic and being around one person feels safe.
So with that too, let's talk about some of the lifestyle changes. What advice, because there's so much advice out there. What is the best diet? Is it keto? Is it paleo? Is it, I know, intermittent fasting? And plus, social media has everything coming at you. How do people navigate that world, and how do you navigate that world as well, being a business owner and trying to help your clients and just the general population get through what is real and what is just advertising?
The short answer is all of those can be good. It is really dependent on the person. Each one of us is so unique. So I focus on bio-individuality for the person. Some people need more vegetables. Some people need more meat and animal protein. Some people need more fat. Some people, intermittent fasting works great, and for others it doesn't. So some of it is trial and error, but it's also taking a look at that person and what is their lifestyle like now? What are they eating now? What other stressors and environmental factors do they have? Because a big part of changing, not just what you consume through your mouth, but what are you putting on your skin and what are you breathing in your home? So removing those types of toxins is also a part of the lifestyle change. So getting rid of some of the chemicals and finding safer options for cleaning, and, fragrances and everything. And it can be, I can't even count how many chemicals can be in fragrance. It's just so many. And people don't realize that those are some of the things that they're reacting to until you remove them.
It could be overwhelming, right? I mean, Donna Ignatz with us here on the Megacast. She's the owner and founder for Birdie's Better Life. You're a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and a licensed massage therapist. But when you talk about these things, is it better to do kind of like an elimination process so people don't feel so overwhelmed, and to maybe keep a journal? To try to figure out what it is, what your triggers, what works, what doesn't?
Yeah, journaling is great. keeping track of what you're putting in and on your body. But yes, eliminating things and starting with those things that are most commonly those stressors. But you don't want it to feel like you're deprived either, right? So maybe for some people, they might need to just remove 1 or 2 things at a time. And the first 2 things that I tell people to get rid of are gluten and sugar, just to start out. And if that doesn't feel like it's making enough of an impact, then we start by, maybe we need to pull out, dairy too, or some people are allergic to eggs. And there are different.
And I got to stop you there. I can't live without cheese.
That is the biggest one that people can't live without. So if you try to remove everything else and then like maybe reduce the amount of cheese and find a higher quality cheese, there's a couple of really good brands that I like. Dubliners Kerrygold is a good one, and Tillamook is a good brand. Or finding a great local farmer who maybe has some that's less processed is a good way of starting too. But cheese is the biggest thing I think for people, even more than gluten. And I don't want to give up my cheese.
I can give up gluten, but it is true. So I had a nephew who had huge stomach issues, and a lot of it's been like years of trial and error to get him. And to my sister's credit, she's been amazing at going on this journey with him to get him healthy, because we're talking about someone who's ending up in the hospital like once a month because of what they're putting into their system. Mm-hmm. And everyone is different. And so trying to make these lifestyle changes, and plus you're talking about someone who's, in their, teens and 20s can be a little bit difficult. You can't have pizza. You have gluten-free, but then you got to do this and that and the other. But we're also in a pandemic, but even as people start to get out and they go over to other people's houses, as someone who's a host, mm-hmm. it could be challenging to say, oh, wait, do I need gluten-free? Do I not? So is it better for an individual to bring their food with them, or to just let the host know, this is what I can and cannot eat?
That can be overwhelming for the host sometimes. So knowing your audience is a big part of that. Whose house are you going to? I thankfully have a great group of people that accommodate at least something, or I offer to bring something along that I know that I can have, or I eat before, so that I know that I'm not feeling left out as well.
So one of the other things, I was on your website and we talk about essential oils. So I just started taking a yoga class, but it's a stretching yoga class, because some of these yoga classes are very intimidating. Like, when you get these size like double zeros and they move and they're like, no, this is like a stretching for life. But she does a lot of essential oils as well. So there's been a lot of controversy with some of the essential oils as well. Is it really one of those things that to make you feel better in the moment, or is there science behind using and utilizing essential oils in your life?
There is science behind it, and there are some really good resources for that. I think the key to that is not looking at just looking for one place to find your information, right? So there's a lot of direct sales companies. I happen to purchase mine from one, but I don't just look to them for answers. I look to a lot of the experts for information. I want to make sure that I'm using them safely and appropriately. But yes, to answer your question, there is science behind it, and a big part of it has to do with the olfactory. The sense of smell and getting it into your cells that way. Using things diluted so that you're not putting them on your body neat, and doing that properly. There's a lot of controversy around ingesting and whether you should or whether you shouldn't. I'm not a certified aromatherapist, so it's not something that I recommend to people. The key to essential oils is using them consistently as well. If you're just looking to use it for one thing, like they're great for burns. Like I've got a burn mark on my arm here. I did not put essential oil on here like I normally would have. And it's taking a lot longer to heal. I did it on another spot and it healed within a few days. My husband's gotten off of allergy medicine by changing his diet and using essential oils.
It really is. It's been so great talking to you because it's so important about, especially it's the diet, what we're putting into our bodies as well. And what works well for one person isn't necessarily the best thing for the other. But the pandemic has all of us in such a tailspin right now. But can you tell us a little bit about your business? Where can people find information and what services do you offer as well?
Okay, so I am located in the Healing Redefined Holistic Wellness Center in West Bloomfield. So we're at 14 and Middle Belt in the Park Plaza right there. Information, you can find me on my website, which is birdiesbetterlife.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. So some of the things that I offer are the functional nutritional therapy, which is, like I said, working with you as a bio-individual person. We look at a lot of different things and come up with a plan for you. I do teach some classes as well, and I have some group programs as far as one is called Restart, which has a 3-week sugar detox built into the middle of it. And that goes through like setting up your kitchen, getting it prepared for the sugar detox. And then the last week is reintroducing foods. How do I do this? So it kind of goes through the whole process, like a mini elimination diet. But then there's also the body work. I do massage therapy, a multiple modality approach with some myofascial release. And I'm also do cranial sacral therapy as well.
So prior to you getting on this journey, if someone would have said to you, this was going to be your life's work, let's say 20 years ago, what would you have said to them?
I would have said they were crazy. Listen, I drank Mountain Dew, ate Oreos, ramen noodles, Doritos. Those were Reese's peanut butter cups. Those were staples in my life. So I think about that a lot. And I think, gosh, if I can do this, anybody can. Especially if you have help.
But I am saying, like Reese's peanut butter cups, for me, it's only at Easter time because for some reason they taste so much better when they're in the Easter egg. But also, was it a light switch that went on, or was this a process for you?
I think in the beginning it was a process, but then a flip just switched. The first thing I did was I changed gluten. So I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and the underlying cause for me was Lyme disease. But what caused all that to happen, or allowed that to happen, was what I was putting in and on my body and the stress I was under from my job and from life in general. So somebody recommended, try taking gluten out. And I was like, I don't wanna. But I did, and I felt better. And I was really super strict about it, almost militant. And then when I thought this works, I need to change. I think I need to do more. So I started doing the research, and I found a practitioner who helped me get better from Lyme and fibromyalgia. And part of her process was eating a paleo diet. And I jumped in head first. It was all or nothing for me. And that was the light switch that I needed. I was like, wow, if taking out gluten makes me feel this much better, how much more will taking out all of this other stuff? And then within 3 months, I had lost 30 pounds. I felt better than I had in years. I went from not being able to roll over in bed to off-roading and hiking and
it's like Tom Brady, right? I mean, because they talk about his diet, and he doesn't age, right? But a lot of that has to do with what we're putting in our bodies as well. So I just want to say thank you for taking time to come on our show and share your story, but also the services that you offer. So hopefully as more and more people are vaccinated, but they're also feeling more comfortable going out in public, because we are all learning more about the virus, but also how to keep ourselves safe. So it's great to have you and other people in your industry with us here to share your story, but also to offer your services and to let people know they don't have to suffer. There is a better way.
There is. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, it's been great. Thank you again. So Donna Wagnitz with us. She's the owner and founder of Birdie's Better Life here with us on the Megacast. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back shortly.
COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries. But you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. MyBridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
The only way to beat COVID-19 is to face it.
You can't get too comfortable.
You can't forget the danger.
Wear the mask. Wear the mask.
Wear the mask. Wash your hands.
Keep a safe distance.
Especially in the next few months.
You know we'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
Someday.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But not yet.
But not yet.
Consider virtual gatherings for the holidays.
Curbside food orders.
Grocery delivery.
And shopping local.
Shop local.
And especially shopping local.
Let's beat this virus. We can if we face it together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together. Together.
For the latest information, visit oakgov.com/COVID.
Great to have you with us here on the Megacast. Just about 30 minutes left in the show. We do want to say we are sorry, as with everyone else during this pandemic, we are relying very heavily on technology, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And so the beginning of the show, we did have a few glitches, but we did go ahead and do the interviews and recorded them. We'll have them up for you a little bit later. Just go to civiccentertv.com and we'll have the interviews up. I believe we were able to get Brenda Lawrence in progress, but for her full interview, you want to log into our website, as well as our interview with Chris Wilson over at Oakland University. But in the meantime, we are going to be joined with our next guest, Bob Roberts, president of Corktown Business Association. You're also the owner of McShane's Irish Pub. Bob, I have to tell you, I was absolutely devastated when the news just came out that the Corktown Parade is going to be canceled again this year.
Yeah, Ronnie, you're not the only one. We were devastated also. Could not have imagined when the parade got canceled a year ago, which was amazing, in itself. Could not imagine that we'd be sitting here a year later in the same situation.
I'm going to admit to you right here and right now, I was one of the idiots that refused to believe that Corktown was not going to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, because it really was like a day or two before. And so I still wore my tutu. I was like, I'm ready just in case there's going to be a 5K that's like even underground. But we went, and it was one of the most depressing things I think I've experienced on St. Patty's Day, because for us, it's so many of us, it's an annual tradition to go in. We do the 5K, but it's about seeing your friends and your family. But for you as a business owner, that is the hugest hit to your bottom line.
Oh, absolutely. There's, without a doubt. So we're fortunate here in Corktown that we have Parade Day followed by St. Patrick's Day, and usually about 3 weeks later, Opening Day. So typically between those 3 days, the average restaurateur will do about a month's worth of business, right? So they get a 13-month year just because of those 3 days. And unfortunately, we're losing 2 out of the 3 for sure, but there's already rumors that are circling around about Opening Day that there may not be any fans in the stands. We've heard another rumor that's going to be limited to just about 82 or 8,300 season ticket holders only. And then we also heard a really terrible rumor that the city may be looking at a way to eliminate or not allow tailgating in the parking lots around the ballpark. For the restaurants in Corktown in particular, we've been so hard hit by losing those days. The first shutdown, opening at 50% for a while. Then of course we had the pause. Now we're open at 25%. But the moral of the story is that even being open at 25%, there's nobody downtown right now. If you go down to Campus Martius, you talk about, being in Corktown on parade, what would have been Parade Day, and how sad that looked. You should go down to Campus Martius on any given day and think back to what you used to see a year ago to what you see now. That's even more sad. And it's not that they're not trying. I mean, the DDP and whatnot, they have all the same programming going on. So I mean, the people that are down there are having a good time. There's just not anybody there.
But on top of that too, Bob, I wonder, we've had a couple restaurants from Corktown on the show, and one thing that we are seeing in the suburbs or even just locally, because it's about the neighborhoods, and so people are saying support local, local, and so you're going to your neighborhood bar, restaurant, or pub, and you're ordering to keep them open. But like you said, Corktown is a destination. And while the neighborhood, you have a great neighborhood there in Corktown compared to some of the other areas of Detroit, but how much of the support local are restaurants such as yours, McShane's, but also the other restaurants really being able to cash in on? Because I will even say at some point in time, we're tired of our local restaurants.
Right, sure. Well, so you're exactly right. Corktown has always been a conduit to downtown. We're not only the oldest neighborhood in the city, but we're also have been known and have worn the label proudly of being the city's safest neighborhood. So folks from the suburbs, have for years have felt fairly safe coming to Corktown, and they use it as just that, a destination. Come here first, then go to a show, a ball game, a concert. The struggle that we're having in Corktown now is that there are not very many workers downtown right now, because obviously they're required to work from home where they can. There's no shows, there's no concerts, there's no ball games, and so really, why does somebody from Canton want to drive that extra 20 to 30 minutes downtown, passing hundreds of restaurants, just to come to Corktown? So that's honestly our challenge, I think, for this year is trying to figure out how to incentivize people to make that drive, because as you point out, even though Corktown's a great neighborhood, we're also a very diverse neighborhood in that we've got a small neighborhood off of Michigan Avenue, and then it gets fairly light and even light industrial, and a lot of commercial on the south side of Michigan Avenue. So our neighborhood, as far as rooftops, is actually fairly small. I want to say last time I looked, it was about 720 or so. So that's just not enough rooftops to support all the great restaurants that we have.
Bob Roberts with us here on the Megacast. He's the president of Corktown Business Association, but also the owner of McShane's Irish Pub. And I will say, Bob, I work downtown, and I will say, for me, a lot of the times I would have those quick business meetings in Corktown because parking was easier to find than in the Campus Martius area. And so when you're taking out, as you mentioned, all of those business meetings, those quick meetups, and hey, let's go talk over a drink after work, that adds up to a lot of money. But parking was also a big issue. So what talks are in the works, or any consideration to try to get people, like you said, to come here, to make it a destination again, even if those events aren't happening downtown?
Yeah. So what we're looking at is we're looking at trying to think a little bit smaller than Detroit, and a little bit maybe even to some extent smaller than Corktown. So we're trying to look at some of the things that attract people to their own local small town. Be it a ice sculpture festival, or one of the things that we're really excited about starting to work on is every Thursday night during the summer, we're going to have a street and sidewalk activation throughout, and we're literally just working on this right now. But throughout Corktown, we're probably around a dozen spots out in front of businesses on the sidewalks. From 6 to 8, we'll have live entertainment, so that way people are encouraged to come down and walk the corridor and walk the avenue and visit different spots. The retailers are going to do sidewalk sales. We're going to have some pop-ups that are taking place, and of course, all the great restaurants will be open, and we're hoping that we can also at the same time apply for that, one of those social districts, so you could take a carry-out beverage with you and enjoy that on the street as you do a little sidewalk shopping.
Yeah, they really need to come up with something. The good thing about your location is it is kind of an in-between, because when I try to meet people from St. Clair Shores or downriver, and I'm in Oakland County, it's like, okay, Detroit's going to be the easiest spot for us to be able to meet, like kind of that in-between spot. But on top of that too, it's what you just said, like the city of Detroit, if they can work with you to shut down some of these back streets, to make it just that, like a walkable district, so that people can enjoy those. I think that would help a lot, because we're seeing that in some of the suburbs. Northville is doing a great job with putting up these little shanties for people to be able to go from business to business. I know you're a little bit different, kind of harder to shut down Michigan Avenue,
Right.
but there is the alleyway that runs behind so many of the businesses as well, that maybe there's something that they can do there. Before we let you go, Bob, anything planned or any way to salvage St. Patrick's Day?
So we're still not sure. As we all know, the governor likes to keep things kind of tight to the vest. We typically don't get a lot of notice as to what any changes forthcoming are. We're certainly, at this point, I think that everybody kind of anticipates that the current restrictions we're under now at the 25% and 10 o'clock curfew are going to continue past St. Patrick's Day, or at least until St. Patrick's Day. Obviously they don't like the mingling around and the overcapacities and that type of thing. So I would anticipate we're going to be at the 25%. So at that point, it becomes really tricky. It becomes a safety and a security and really controlling your crowds and having paying it extra to have people at the doors, not making sure everybody's seated, making sure everybody's wearing masks. I mean, I think we're going to have our hands full on St. Patrick's Day.
And definitely, and that's also where maybe having that outside district, if the city would even allow you to close that section of Michigan Avenue to allow for the additional people in that additional space as well, could really help you guys stay in business. Have you been able to take advantage of any of these grants that have been offered to some of the small businesses in the restaurant industry as well?
Yeah. So just speaking for McShane specifically, we did not apply for any of the grants originally because knock on wood, fortunately we were in a good enough financial situation that we didn't need them, and wanted to leave those for other people that did. We were fortunate to get the first round of PPP funding, which helped out tremendously. We took advantage of the liquor buyback program that the state did. And most recently, we've applied for a couple grants. Unfortunately, didn't get awarded those because there's so many people that apply compared to the funds that are available. It's kind of like waiting in line for your favorite band on Ticketmaster. It's a 3, 4, 6, 8 hour process over 3 days. The second round of PPP funding has been a little bit more difficult to apply for. I've heard that from many restaurateurs, in particular, depending on what bank that you're banking with. But so we haven't been able to take advantage of that yet, but we are still looking at it. So some stuff we've gotten, some others we haven't. And like I say, unfortunately, most of the grants, the $15,000 and the $20,000 grants, there's just so much more need and demand than what there are funds.
Oh, and I will say, Bob, I'm like every politician that stands up there and uses it as a headline needs to be the one sitting behind the keyboard with their business on the line, trying to get that money, because
Right.
They stand up there and they get the accolades saying, oh, but we're offering this money. And when you say, yeah, but no one's really getting it. But the need is so great. But that's my rant for the day, and we'll move on. But we're hoping that you guys survive. And hopefully, I will say I'm still planning to come St. Patrick's Day. I have a brand new tutu I didn't get to wear. I'm wearing
Come
my
on
tutu.
down. Trust me, we'll still take care of you. We're gonna, I'm sure everybody will have their outdoor spaces activated and are ready to go. So even at 25%, we're gonna do the best we can, and who knows, maybe we can get the city to loosen up a little bit, at least for that day on the social districting.
And we hope so. And we will say, when it comes to like the 5K races and things of that nature, those are nonprofit driven, that they're going, that money that they raise for through these races goes to help different entities and organizations within the community. So it's important work that you guys are doing, but I so hope you guys survive, because you're one of my favorite restaurants there in Corktown. So best of luck to you and your team.
Thanks, Ronnie. I appreciate it.
I'll see you on St. Patrick's Day.
All right. make sure you ask for me. I'll be here.
I will. I'll even make you your own tutu. You're like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I have a box of them, by the way.
Extra large.
Thank you again for being with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. Just a few minutes left in the show. And then when we come back, we'll switch the conversation up, a little bit more serious topic, and talking about Alzheimer's disease. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
We want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us, but also if you stuck with us today, we really want to say thank you because we, of course, had a few technical issues at the beginning of the day. Just the internet went down back at the TV station, but we are back up. And so we want to say, again, we appreciate you hanging with us. And also with that, we appreciate our next guest and all the work that she and her organization does. Kayla Jackal, she's the program coordinator for the Alzheimer's Association Michigan chapter. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I've had family members that have suffered from this disease, and it is very trying and very difficult for those individuals. But I was also on the website reading some of the statistics, and it's sobering. More than 5 million Americans currently are living with Alzheimer's, and that number is expected to grow so much more so in the next so many years. How do you even tackle this issue on a large scale?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot with our programs and services and trying to reach as many individuals that we can. And really, too, working with doctors to, make sure that they're knowledgeable on the disease and how that they can help their patients and get those diagnoses earlier, so that way people can plan ahead and get the resources that they need.
So when we're talking about the disease, what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia?
Yeah, so dementia is actually an umbrella term, and Alzheimer's falls under that umbrella. So there are quite a few different types of dementias, with Alzheimer's being the most prevalent of those.
During the pandemic, do you anticipate that these numbers are going to increase because people aren't getting the help that they need, especially early on?
Yeah, what we've seen too, a lot of people, as we know, aren't going to their doctor appointments now. So that kind of, if people are worried about that, if they're not going to the doctor, they're not getting those diagnoses as early on, like you said, as well as, we've noticed that the social isolation has really been harmful on people who do have the disease, as well as their caregivers.
So with that, what are some of the early signs that someone should be looking for? Because I would think it's mostly their loved ones that start to notice the signs before the individual themselves, or at least admittedly notice the signs.
Yeah, so, memory loss, forgetting where things are and not remembering later on, a normal sign is, being able to remember. You may forget, but later on you can remember. Any changes in behaviors or attitude, things like that. On our website, we do actually have the 10 warning signs, and we do have an education program focused on the 10 warning signs that people should look for. And kind of be aware of.
I'm listening to you say some of those things, but aren't some of them just natural with age? Because I don't know how many times I go into Target and forget what I went into Target for, but I come out with a lot of other things.
Right. Well, we think of it as a normal sign of aging, but it's actually not. Normally it's not something, later on you remember what you went into Target for. You're walking around and it kind of pops in your head, or you leave the store after and you're like, that's what I forgot to get. And people with Alzheimer's or other dementias, they can't quite eventually remember those things. So kind of that more long-term of forgetting of, those things, not being able to recall.
One of the most heartbreaking stories I ever covered, a couple married more than 50 years, and he left for just a few minutes, and the wife, and she suffered from Alzheimer's, and he left, and while he was gone, she left the house, and they later found her dead, but it was months long search for her and his dedication to his wife. And it was just a beautiful love story in itself with such a tragic ending. And so many of these stories in that way. Is there medication or even programs to try to help stimulate the brain to delay the more serious symptoms of this disease?
So unfortunately right now, Alzheimer's does not have, it's one of the top 10 deaths and it's the only one that does not have a cure or anything to slow it down as of right now. So unfortunately getting, isn't quite an option for that. So really what we promote is continuing to keep active, doing brain information, crossword puzzles, word searches, staying socially active, having a healthy diet, all of those kind of things is really the best that people can do, even when they have that diagnosis. So before and after that diagnosis.
So I know that you guys do have some social engagement programs. Quickly, what are some of those?
Yeah, so we do offer social engagement programs virtually with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, the Henry Ford, the Detroit Zoo, the Detroit Historical Museum, and many others. And these are just an-hour programs once a month, and it just allows participants to kind of join in with other people living with the disease and kind of take that time to talk to each other, as well as, enjoy some music or, learn some history. And people have really been enjoying that.
That is great that you guys offer this as well. And with that, though, how important are support groups during this time? And do you guys offer them? I would think so.
We do offer support groups. We have many different kinds all throughout the week, different times, different days, to hopefully get as many people, with different schedules to be able to join a group, because they are so important for people to be able to talk about what's going on, and it's kind of a socialization aspect for them too. Especially, they need that break from caregiving. So being able to learn new techniques from other caregivers who have gone through similar situations, things like that. As well as we actually have a person with dementia early stage support group as well. So support group for those living with the disease.
And we do want to let people know that caregiving can be extremely overwhelming and extremely stressful. Reach out to other people, ask for help, and reach out to other people going through what you're going through as well, because it's so vitally important. Real quickly, Kayla, where can people find information about your organization if they need help as well?
Yeah, so they can either go to our website, alz.org/GMC for Greater Michigan Chapter, or they can call our 24/7 helpline at 1-800-272-3900.
That's so great to know. And quickly, just about 15 seconds left. Any upcoming, fundraising efforts?
Yep, we have this year our Longest Day fundraising that'll take place in June on the Longest Day, and our Walk to End Alzheimer's. You can find more information about both of those on our website or by calling as well.
Is it going to be virtual?
As of right now, they are virtual, yes.
Okay, well, we hope, though, by that time we'll be on the backside of this, but it doesn't look like we're going to. So, but, Kayla, we so appreciate your time. Again, Alzheimer's Association, the Michigan chapter, please ask for help. Reach out, know the signs if you do need help. We want to say thank you for tuning in and staying with us on the latest edition of the Megacast. We apologize for the beginning of the show and the technical difficulties, but we'll have those interviews on our website, civiccentertv.com. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast.